right, I think we are live. Oh my goodness. What a day, what a day. It is time for new TBS goodness. Oh my goodness. I don't know about you guys, but I'm excited. I have been using the crap out of this thing. You've probably watched like 50 videos on the TBS Tracer because like everybody's got this thing already. And I'm going to be surprised if people actually have questions. I have been testing the system for several weeks now. I know they gave us so much warning that it was coming out and when it was getting released. I just haven't had time to sit down, film this intro, say all the things about it, edit the video, get it uploaded. And so I said, you know what? Screw it. We're going to do it live. So here we are going live talking about the brand new TBS Tracer. So first of all, I'm going to say what's up to everybody that's in here. What is going on, Phantom? Glad to have you, Double A. Lay Rainbow, congratulations. Dude, you had some sick footage in that competition. SST, Prop Breaker, Cement Kid, Dr. Drone. I thank you all for showing up and hanging out with me while we talk about this new system, what it's good for, what my experience has been. This is going to be the live, unfiltered version. If I say something inaccurate, I apologize. I'm doing it live on the fly. There's been many changes to the system as it's been in development, as I've been testing it. So go to the TBS Team Blacksheep website for official information. I'm going to do my best to keep everything absolutely official. But like I said, this is live. There's no editing it. There's no fixing it. What I say is what I say, and we're going with it. All right? Thank you, Mike Bergman. Yeah, trying to keep it Phantom in here. Trying to keep it looking good in here. I'm reading Phantom's name on the list, keeping up with what's going on. What is going on, Tack? I have not seen you in a while. We need to get together and fly. I am still making it back to Atlanta on the regular, doing some rippage. All right, enough of these intros and discussions. Let's get into exactly what is the TBS Tracer. So the bottom line is the new TBS Tracer is a 2.4 gigahertz control link. What does it look like? It looks like this guy. Now, as you might know, I have been flying the, hang on, I need like pictures of me. If I can't see me, then I don't know what I'm doing. I've got, like I said, I'm doing this so last minute. Ooh, this thing is done. My flight footage with the Tracer system, I am rendering out. It just finished as we speak. I'm going to throw it on Dropbox so that I've got it in, and can share it on this other computer. Yeah, we're like super jank, super last minute. I know. Where's it at? Where's that Dropbox folder? There it is. Boom. All right, let me change this monitor back over the PC so that I can see what I am doing. There. Nailed it. Okay, so we have the TBS Tracer right here. Now this is the Nano version. It comes in a couple of different varieties. You have the Nano, you have the Micro. The Micro is going to be the same size form factor as your Micro Crossfire transmitter. It fits into the JR module bays. The Nano fits into the module bays on something like an X-Lite or a Tango 2, which is what I have been using it with. Here is my Tango 2. You can see it in all of its glory with the external module bay added on. That's right, I got that B3 board, loving it too. Mounts onto the back of my Tango 2. Works just like that. Now, it's 2.4 gigahertz. The receivers, same form factor as your Crossfire Nano receivers, except there's more. It is a diversity receiver. There's no way you guys are going to be able to see this thing on my video feed with the, it's just going to, like, I'm focusing on it, but it is so tiny. It's the same form factor as your Crossfire Nano receivers, except there are two two antenna connectors on here. Oh my goodness. YouTube is not receiving enough to maintain smooth streaming. Let me know if the stream gets choppy for you guys. It's probably because I'm moving things over on, that was a horrible idea to throw everything onto freaking Dropbox. Let's see. Question. Is it going to be done uploading? No. Okay. We are going to... Stop it. All right. Yes. Well, dude, I'm not missing it completely. Calm down. We're just like getting started talking about it. Good Lord, people are impatient. All right, we'll worry about getting the footage over in a minute. I'll just do it on an SD card if I have to. Let's finish talking about it because people are freaking out because I'm not stating all the stats and why it's awesome fast enough. So, oh man, and I have totally misplaced my receiver. Yes, diversity receiver. What is so awesome about it? Well, it is 2.4 gigahertz, so you're not going to be getting the same insane range that you get on Crossfire, which is 915 or 868. But it is plenty of range in my testing. I was expecting to find places where I was fail-safing with this, and I can't say that I have on the latest firmware update. Now, this is prototype hardware that I was given, and Trappy told everybody that the prototypes were going to have about 70% of the range of the final production units. And once they worked out some issues in the early stage, alpha stage firmwares, I have yet to have a single fail-safe on it, and I've been pushing it to the limits of the DJI FPV system. And if you fly the DJI FPV system, you know what that means. I'm going behind buildings, I'm going like behind a bajillion trees, and still my receiver link is holding up. Now, while we mention that, let's talk about where I'm mounting the antennas. This is my quad here. You'll see right here on the bottom of one leg, I have an antenna mounted. And then I also, let's see if I can get this in the light. It's kind of hard to get it in the light and focused. It's hard. Come on now, play nice with me. Right here, I have another 3D print. There we go. You can kind of see it there. There's a 3D print that is holding one vertically polarized. So I have one horizontal polarization. I have one vertical polarization near the front of the quad. So when I'm coming back at myself, the quad sees the signal very well. And when I'm going away, the quad receives the signal very well. So that's how I am rocking the antenna setup on the TBS Tracer. Let's talk a couple of specs. It is 250 hertz refresh rate. Now, if you know anything about Crossfire, you know that when you're close in, it operates at 150 hertz. And as soon as you go behind like a tree or get out of the field right in front of you, you're going to have that thing drop down to the 50 hertz range. It works great. It's still pretty low latency, but it starts to feel a little bit blockier. Meaning that there's a little bit more time between the quad reads the new position of your sticks. It's not as fast. With this, it's 250 hertz, which means that 250 times every single second, the radio is sending a new update of your stick positions. So you feel much more locked to the quad. It's a much more fluid experience. Not to mention, this thing has insanely low latency. This thing is now, I'm going strictly off of manufacturer specs. I do not have the equipment to test the latency of the control link, but it is at 3 milliseconds of latency. Now, to put that into perspective, the Crossfire at its best is at 7 milliseconds. And if you trust what Oscar Liang has to say in his testing, with the Crossfire system, you'll see latency anywhere from 7 milliseconds to around 20 milliseconds in 150 hertz refresh mode, with it averaging around 12 to 14. And with the 50 hertz mode, which is what you will spend most of your time on Crossfire, you see from, I think, 7 to 30 milliseconds of latency. This is locked at 3. So if we're talking when you're spending most of your time on the Crossfire system, you're going to be in that 10 to 15 milliseconds of overall latency. This is at 3. So it is a noticeable improvement in terms of latency and the fast refresh rate that you're getting out of that 250 hertz. Now, is it we'll talk about some experience stuff in a minute. Let's finish up with all the specs and then we'll go into it. So I'm going to finish up talking about specs. We're going to talk about my experience, what I think about it, and then I'm going to get into your questions and what anybody has. So if you're throwing questions at me, there's too much going on the chat right now. I can't keep up, so just bear with me while I finish rattling off all of these specs, and then we're going to get back to it. All right. So 250 hertz refresh, 3 milliseconds of latency. It does 8 or 12 channel output via CRSF, S-Bus. Basically, it's running the same Crossfire engine that your Crossfire runs. So your transmitter, you're going to put it in CRSF mode, and it's just going to work in exactly the same way that your Crossfire module has forever. It's configurable via Lewis scripts. You can go in there, set your dynamic power output, set whatever settings it is that you want. Change the channel mapping on your receiver if that's something that you need to do. It's all going to behave the same way that your Crossfire has been. You put Betaflight in CRSF mode and you're good to go. Let's see, what other things? So it's two-way radio link, just like Crossfire is. But if you've ever flown Crossfire very long range, you know that you will lose telemetry really fast because it's only got that one antenna, and it's not a diversity receiver. So with a diversity receiver, not only is the receiver gonna pick which antenna is receiving the best from the transmitter, it will then use the other antenna to transmit back to your radio. So another benefit of the diversity receiver setup, it's got these really cute little antennas. They're mini mortals, as Trappy has named them. They are Immortal T's, but they are very short. As you can see, it's just a couple of inches long, same type of antenna as your Crossfire Immortal T. They're very small, easy to mount, lots of 3D printing options available in order to mount them onto arms, as you saw, onto standoffs, various ways. Serial modem capable of doing Mavlink. Like I said, it's got all of the features that your Crossfire has. They say unlimited people can fly it at a time. And then now let's talk about the RF power output. And this is where I'm going to get into a little bit of weirdness. So when I first got the system, it was capable of going up to 1 watt. I hate always talking about like prototype issues, but that's what part of the being an early tester is letting them know what's working, what's not working. So it's currently running at 100 milliwatts. The hardware is capable of doing more, and we're going to be seeing those features come up in the future. It will be capable for everybody. Okay, this is me quoting Trappy on another person's video. It'll be capable of doing 500 milliwatts very soon. The 1 watt will be an unlockable feature. If you have your ham license, you probably already know that we can use up to 1 watt to control model aircraft, and this will be capable of doing 1 watt on 2.4 gigahertz. With that type of power output, you're going to be able to go a ridiculous distance. With 100 milliwatts, I can easily outfly my DJI FPV video feed. Like I've I have lost video link on DJI while still having control link on the Tracer. So I don't think it's going to be an issue for anyone. Okay, I think that pretty much covers the features, what it is, how it works, fastest radio link in the business. Yeah, it's all the TBS things that you are used to getting, right? No surprises there. Let's see. What else do we got? We got the all the settings, all the things. Oh, nice little feature here is it is USB-C on the back of the Tracer. So when you go to update it, it's going to be a USB-C connection. Very handy. We're all getting away from those micro USB. Let's see. I'm going to talk about my experience, what I expected, and what I found. So when I first got it, I thought that I was going to be like, oh, gee whiz, it feels better, but you know what? I'm probably going to keep using Crossfire because I want to be able to fly the full extent of my video range without ever worrying about it. That was what I expected. I expected to be able to push it and then at some points be fail-safing. That is not what I have seen. What I have found is that I am able to push it all the way to the edges of the DJI FPV video link. I also didn't think that it was going to be that huge of an improvement. I thought it would be something that I could barely feel and I wouldn't think a lot about it. Now, in reality, when I switched over from from Crossfire, wait, no, sorry. When I switched over from analog video to digital, the DJI HD FPV video system, it has a little bit more latency. Does that hinder how I fly most of the time? No. 90% of the time when I go fly, I'm going to fly to hang out with friends. I'm going to fly to blow off steam. I'm going to fly to just enjoy the act of flying. I can 1,000,000% do that on Crossfire and DJI. It's fine. It's a little bit more latency, but it's acceptable to me for the experience of the video. I was starting to feel like I might need to build another analog quad to push it in proximity spaces. If you saw the video that I put out like maybe 3 videos ago where I was flying inside of that building, like the little enclosed walkways, we could watch it here, but I'll let you guys go back and look. Let me see, what's it called? I'll Google that while I am talking. So the video that I put out just a little while ago, when I was flying that proximity location, I found that the latency was a bit of an issue. I was struggling just a little bit in order the weekend session and new spot exploration. That's the one right here. I'll show you. Check it out. Oh God, I gotta watch ads on my own videos. Oh, the humanity. I'm gonna mute it because you guys are actually hearing the audio. Oh my gosh, another freaking ad. Okay, at least it's not a political ad. Thank goodness the election is going to be over soon. So anyways, the video from this location. When I flew here, I was able to fly and get kind of aggressive, but I did feel a little bit of a hang up and I wasn't able to push it quite as hard as I have on my analog system, right? And so I've been thinking about possibly building another analog FPV system in order to really push it when I'm going crazy, when I'm flying with steel, when I'm trying to make like the craziest videos possible. But what I found was once they had all of the firmware updates done, to be clear, there was not support for 250 hertz refresh rates on the Tango 2 until very recently, like the last 2 or 3 weeks. So until they put that out, I was just like, whatever, it is what it is. Once I got the 250 hertz refresh rate, I was like, oh my goodness. I immediately was just letting loose at spots. And it felt like that. It feels like flying analog video and Crossfire. And I immediately went home, called Steel. I was like, dude, this, the Crossfire, I'm sorry, the Tracer and DJI FPV is where it's at. The latency is getting back in the ballpark of your analog system. You're gonna love it. He was thinking that maybe you would be able to feel the latency of the DJI more, but it's not like that. The important thing when we're talking about the overall latency of a system is if I move my fingers, so I move the stick position, it takes an amount of time from the time I move the stick until the flight controller sees that input. Then it takes an amount of time until it can relay that information to the ESC. Then it takes an amount of time until the ESC can change the speed of the motor. That moves the quad. Then it's the amount of time from when the camera can see that and transmit that back and I can see it. So it's the entire amount of time from when I make a stick input, the quad moves, I see that movement. That entire loop of latency is what you're dealing with when you're flying FPV. So if you can cut down the latency of the video, or if you can cut down the latency in the control link, you're achieving the same end goal of lowering the overall latency of the entire system. And so switching from Crossfire to Tracer is going to do that for you. Now, if you're on analog, it's going to just be even that much more amazing. If you're on digital and you want to get down to a lower latency overall system, then yes, it is going to give you that. So that has been my experience. That is how I feel about it. It's been freaking awesome. I am loving it. And yeah, I'm going to keep using it. All right, let's what did I do with, okay, I know what I'm going to do. Sorry guys, I apologize for the jankiness of the doing this via live stream. While I'm going to grab the video file that I exported of me flying the Tracer system. I'm going to grab that, throw it on a hard drive real quick, and then we are going to watch it here while I answer your questions. Okay, boom. Tracer, throw that onto that. Boom. Okay. Unplug that drive. That's probably an awesome close-up shot, isn't it? If you could see the jankness of the studio at this moment, you would understand how real the struggle is. All right. Now, boom. All right, so who's got questions? Let's answer some questions. Good Lord. I've lost weight. Actually, I lost quite a bit of weight, and then I gained it back. That's what happens. I thought I had a cable. I didn't have the cable I wanted. All right. I do need... I think I can get away with this. Boom, boom, boom. I have been busy. All right, how easy was the setup for me? Did it go smoothly? The setup is super easy. If you've used a Crossfire transmitter, it's the same thing. I plugged, when it first came, there were new firmware updates. Plugged the transmitter module itself into the computer, fired up TBS Agent X, updated the firmware on here. The receivers that you get, they're going to ship automatically in bind mode. And when you do a firmware update, it's not like it used to be on Crossfire where you'd have to press the button. The receiver will automatically go into bind mode if it doesn't connect to a transmitter quick enough. So every time I've had to update the firmware, I don't actually even have to press the button. I just fire up the transmitter, put it in bind mode, it rebinds, and it's good to go. The output on the receiver is set to CRSF, so I didn't even have to go in and set that up. It was just going and set it up in Betaflight just like it was a Crossfire receiver. Worked great. So setup is no big deal. Yeah, telemetry lost in Crossfire. I have had telemetry lost a lot of times. What else we got here? People talking about what you can tell a difference in latency-wise. 0.1, 0.08, 30 milliseconds, 0.03. Yeah, I understand people. This is something that people get into all the time. Can you feel the latency changes? Can you feel latency changes? Yes, you can. Is 30 milliseconds latency perceptible? Yes, it is. It comes down to the overall change. If we were talking about taking a system with an overall latency from control link to drone movement to me seeing that movement that had a latency of 60 milliseconds and we changed it to 57, that is probably an imperceptible change because it's such a small percentage of the overall amount of latency. If you take a system that is 40 milliseconds and you cut it down to 25 milliseconds, you've almost halved the overall latency of the entire system. For an FPV quadcopter flying with the DJI FPV system, your video latency is going to be bouncing around, let's just call it 30 milliseconds of latency. I know it gets down into the 20s, it gets up into the 30s. Let's just say that it's at 30 milliseconds. If you're using Crossfire, then your latency is going to be, you're going to be using the 50 hertz mode most of the time, and that latency is going to be bouncing around between 14 and 30 milliseconds of latency overall. So when you're flying Crossfire far away, you are going to be experiencing roughly 60 milliseconds of latency overall, maybe higher depending on the video latency of the DJI. With this, it is always 3 milliseconds. It doesn't go into that variable latency mode. It doesn't switch modes. There is no LoRa that it goes into. This is just always, like a machine gun, those tracer rounds, always firing off 250 hertz, 3 milliseconds of latency. So when you get far away, where Crossfire would have increased in latency, this does not. This stays at that 3 milliseconds. You stay maintaining that super tight integration to the drone. So In that scenario where the Crossfire is at its worst, probably hitting around 30 milliseconds, this is still going to be at 3, and so you're talking about 20 some milliseconds difference between Crossfire and Tracer. Is it going to be for everybody? No. If you're flying long range in the mountains, I do not suggest that you necessarily go out and get a Tracer system for that quad. If you're flying your local parks, freestyle racing, yeah, if you want to build like long range wings and have one system that you fly FPV with on mini quads and everything, get a Crossfire. It's going to be better for you. It's going to be more versatile. It's going to be better for multiple platforms. But if you want the least amount of latency, the best feeling control link between you and your quad, I think that Tracer is the new go-to standards. All right, let's see. What do we got? Thank you so much, D Hard Jono. Frame of motors I'm using now. I'm glad you asked. I actually have an affiliate link for these motors in the description. I've been wanting to do a live stream for a while where I just talk about all of my equipment and what I've been using, because I've kind of changed a lot of stuff up. This is currently my the Forged Carbon X-Hover Stingy V2 frame. Still flying that pretty much exclusively. I am, however, using the flow motors from Newbie Drone. That may be hard to see there. But these motors are great. They're like, what are they? 1850 kV, 2306 and a half. They got this crazy deal where you get 8 motors for $100. So they had sent me a couple motors out when we did the live stream with Cricket flying the micros back at my old house, and it took me forever to put them on a quad. Finally put them on a quad, loved them, killed one. I was like, oh, I need to go pick up some more. Went and looked, and I saw that you could get 8 for $100, and I was like, oh my god. And I got like 8 of them right away because it's such a screaming deal. Told them what an awesome deal it was. They were like, and so I've been pumping those motors ever since. It's like all I've got. I've got 2 quads with that on it. This build is using a T-Motor ESC. I don't know. It's one of those, like, it's got funky graffiti paint on it. It's basically the 55 amp F3 whatever, but I think it's like a slightly different version of it. And the Talon flight controller from Heli Nation. Yeah, really digging that flight controller, that combo. I also have over here the Newbie Drone, their 20 by 20 stack, and I am going to be building that into Corey's Moon Goat frame very soon with a set of flow motors. I thought I'd actually killed this flight controller when I was doing a build, and I told them, I was like, oh, you sent me this, I really appreciate it, and I think I killed it. But I realized the other day that it's not actually dead, so I'm going to be putting it into a quad after all. Newbie Drone, thank you guys so much. All right, what do we got? I'm going to go through and try to answer some of these questions. Sorry, I am totally slacking on this. Yeah, one of the biggest factors is having more pilots in the air. If you're familiar, Crossfire, you have to jump through a bunch of hoops, and it's just not friendly to having a ton of people in the air. With Tracer, you're going to be able to have as many pilots in the air as you possibly want. You're going to run into problems with video way before you run into problems with control link. Yeah, by the way, Thomas Bitmata is not going to be running Crossfire on his racing drones, is what he said. He's going to be running the Tracer. He is keeping Crossfire on his filming drones, which if that's what he wants to do, that's fine with him. I'm still debating. I'm not positive what I'm going to do. I'm going to continue to keep, right now I've got 2 drones. I'm going to have one on Crossfire and one on Tracer for the time being as I continue to do more testing. The new quad that I build with the Moon Goat, I was planning to do with Crossfire, but I think I'm going to do that one with Tracer. So I'm going to have 2 on Tracer and 1 on Crossfire. I like having Crossfire. It's a more established control link. I know what's going to happen. If we decide to go downtown Atlanta and dive some buildings, I'm not going to put Tracer up in that scenario yet, just because I haven't flown it yet. I don't have that trust built into it. All right. Skadoosh. Pew pew. Yep. Sweet. 250 hertz is 4 milliseconds frame to frame. So there's two things that we're talking here. We're talking the refresh rate and we're talking overall latency. So yes, there are 4 milliseconds between each frame that it is sending. But if you think about when the drone receives that frame versus when your fingers were in that position on the controller, there is 3 milliseconds from the reading that the transmitter takes till the reading that the receiver gets. Now, is there a 4 millisecond gap between you moving your fingers and the radio picking up that movement? Yes. Is there a 3 millisecond gap from it reading that and sending it to the drone? Yes. So we get into wonkiness. We're in such low milliseconds of latency that it doesn't play a factor for the most part. It's easiest to just think of it as it's a 3 milliseconds behind where you were at. The refresh rate is good. It's kind of wonky. I know it sounds weird. 4 milliseconds between each reading that it takes. 3 milliseconds when the receiver sees a reading from your transmitter. It was 3 milliseconds ago when that reading was taken. I hope that makes sense. All right. Did I get a new bag to fit all my DJI stuff? So bag-wise, I have been, I was working with Torval on some new bags. They've got some things in the works, but there's also some things going on over there. I have been using the prototype bag that was under development with them for quite some time. I'm not sure when that is going to be coming out. I am not sure if it even still is going to be coming out, quite frankly. And I have been debating going back to the old Torval bag. That old Torval bag was huge. I used to carry a bunch of camera lenses and everything. And I'm currently carrying like my Tango, my DJI goggles, my analog goggles, all of my tools, spare props, batteries, etc. And the bag's just feeling a little bit overly full. So I'm thinking about going back to the Torval bag that you can get off the market because it just holds more than the prototype bag that I've got. Even though I think the prototype bag looks awesome. Let's see. Sell my V3 board and keep the V. No, see, Skadoosh, you need to keep your V3 Tango 2 board in order to have the external module. The V2 board doesn't have the external module connector. Dude. My live stream has micro stutters. I am sorry. The more consistent your signal is, the cleaner the quad will fly and tune. That is very true. If you're having variable latency in your control link, it's going to be harder to tune the quad. Yeah. RS, that is a very good. The receiver is always listening at 3 milliseconds, and the transmitter is always sending at 4 milliseconds. That's kind of one way to look at it. I don't think, yeah, it's weird science level thing. Yeah, new 5G, blah blah blah. Later stingers, bye. Does flying tracer with DJI make a difference in latency? So the flying tracer on the DJI doesn't change the latency of the DJI goggles, if that's what you're asking. It does, you will notice the lower latency flying the tracer with DJI. It lowers the overall latency between you making a stick input and you seeing the results of that in the goggles. It is good. I did just get a text from Steele today confirming that it is an improvement flying. He was like, what did he say? I'm just going to grab my phone and like quote him. I'm not going to paraphrase. Still Davis. Tracer and DJI is pretty fucking legit, which is exactly what I told him. So, yeah. You know what? One other thing I didn't mention, Trappy had said that we may end up wanting to do this, and I saw in Steele's stories today, he's bringing back Peter the Penetrator. If you remember that, it's back from when we were using FR Sky. We had a higher gain antenna. I forget whether it was, I think it was a 5 dB gain antenna. It's a larger antenna that he has mounted on his tracer, and that will extend your range at the sacrifice of a bigger dead zone above the head of the antenna. So I will probably, I'm going to think about picking up a Peter the Penetrator antenna to throw onto my tracer as well. What else we got? Yeah, Peter the Penetrator is coming back. I love my alliteration. I came up with that one, by the way. That I coined that phrase. Don't, yeah. Let's see what else we got. Let me throw up the footage that I shot with the what do you call it? I'm winding down. Did it not connect to my drive? That's weird. It didn't read the hard drive. This might just be a charge-only cable, not a data cable. I think it is a charge-only. All right, let me grab another USB-C cable. Not you, not that. Snap, I just realized I left my messy closet door open in the background. Gosh, what a slob. Okay. Read this hard drive. Okay. It's not reading it. Why? It never works easy when you try to do these things live. Never, ever, ever. That, you know what? That could be formatted for the Mac. I have other drives that are not. I'm just going to stay here and keep fiddling around. It is USB-C, and can you use normal FrSky antennas on it? You entirely can. The function of the antenna is a result of how much of the element is exposed. If you remember, if you flew like old 2.4 gigahertz and you ever chopped your antennas, you know you can just cut the shielding off to like, if I remember right, it's 31 millimeters that you expose to get a quarter wave 2.4 gigahertz antenna. And yeah, so you can totally fly it with FrSky antennas, Spectrum antennas, anything that has got the U.FL connector on it. That being said, there are like 3 different antennas that TBS is selling in order to go with this. Oh my God, you know what? I totally forgot to mention the most important thing. TBS is doing 30% off of the Tracer system. If you have a Crossfire, all you have to do is order the Tracer system on TBS's site and put the serial number for your Crossfire module into the discount code, and they're going to give you 30% off of Tracer kits, Tracer receivers, and all of that thing. So if you, oh damn it, the stream is wigging out. Did you guys get the info about the discount? No, it's not 25% off. So that's the thing. They told me it was going to be 25% off. If you go to the website currently says right here, use your Crossfire serial number and get 30% off all TBS Tracer, TX, and receiver products. So I know they said 25% off, but it is 30% off right now is what it says. Oh my God, okay. You guys, I gotta quit being distracted. It's wigging out because I'm trying to change the monitor over here, and then it like re-wigs out because I don't log in. I gotta log in. I got to... There we go. I got to switch back displays. I have to grab my external drive. Where did the cable for USB-C go? There's the USB-C cable. We have one last shot at this. I know that this is an NTFS drive. So if it doesn't read this drive, then there's like something wrong with my USB ports. Yeah, I don't know what is going on with this, guys. It's not reading any of my drives. I have a different set of USB ports on the back. Let's try it, just to say we tried it. And still nothing. Yeah, all right. I apologize. I am not going to be able to share the footage with you that I had intended to. Okay, what else we got over here? TBS Tracer page, it is 25%. I don't know, man. I'm just going with what I see on the Tracer micro page. It says 30%. So it's either 25% or 30%. You're going to get a discount at the end of the day. So, is the Tracer compatible with all my TBS Nano receivers? No. The Nano receivers that you have bought to date are Crossfire receivers, meaning that they are 915 or 868 megahertz receivers. They will not work with the Tracer system. You have to buy new receivers. It's a different chipset to be able to receive, transmit. It's just how radios work. Peter the Penetrator. I scrolled the questions, didn't find the answer though. Will it work with the Nirvana at the moment? OpenTX 2.4. My understanding, I've not been testing this on various transmitters because I'm only using the Tango 2. I wasn't like testing it for them. I was just testing it for my purposes. And so I didn't try to use it with my Nirvana. My understanding is that they were using it in conjunction with the current alpha builds. So if the Nirvana is supported in the new OpenTX alphas, like the nightly builds, then yes. I don't want to say for certain that it is. I think more than likely you're going to get it supported. And that's just for the 250 hertz refresh rate. It works off of the CRSF protocol. So if your Nirvana is currently working with a Crossfire transmitter, then it's going to work with a Tracer transmitter, period. Yeah, it's not a FAT32 format. It's an NTFS format. I don't know what's going on with that. Let's see. Sad Day Boys. I don't know what that's about. Yeah, I don't know why Windows is being so bad. How's penetration on Tracer compared to Crossfire? Trappy said Tracer performs better at bandos, but the website says Crossfire has better penetration. It's a bit confusing. I don't know why Tracer would perform better at bandos. At the end of the day, penetration is going to be better on Crossfire because of the nature of the frequencies used. A shorter wavelength does not penetrate as well, meaning shorter wavelength, higher frequency. So 2.4 gigahertz is not going to penetrate at bandos as well as Crossfire. That being said, is that going to be an issue when it comes to your video? I think you're going to run into issues with video before you run into issues with Control Link. When I when I got this, I assumed that I was going to still prefer Crossfire for most of what I do and able to get into all the nooks and crannies of office spots and bandos and you name it. What I've found is that I'm losing Video Link way before Control Link is even beginning to be an issue. So, Lady Lick, I know where you fly. I think you're going to be fine using Tracer over Crossfire. But, you know, you're just going to have to get it and test it out for yourself. Every environment is going to be different. I may find, because I've only tested it at schools so far. I've not gone into like big office parks or downtown areas. I may find that when I go into these environments like apartment complexes, that when there's a million different Wi-Fi networks, it doesn't perform as well. it needs more testing. That's why I'm going to keep one quad on Crossfire so that if I do run into issues, I have a backup. What else? Open the Discord for 10 seconds. Is there any other mode other than 250 hertz? Were you able to get 500 milliwatts or 1 watt? So no, there is no other mode. It is not like Crossfire in that with Crossfire, it'll switch between 150 hertz and 50 hertz, which is a good thing for Crossfire because the 150 hertz does not have very far range. This has 250 hertz at all times, and it has excellent range with a 250 hertz refresh rate. Was I able to go 500 milliwatts or 1 watt? I was at different periods during the testing phase. We've been testing many iterations on the firmware. The final product is solid. It will work great. I have prototype hardware, and quite frankly, there were issues running it at those high power outputs. So they had to change some things on the final production units. They are sending me a final production unit. I will be making a video with that when that comes. But I have run it at 1 watt. I have run it at 500 milliwatts. It was great. It just had other issues. Not going to be present on the final production. And the firmware has resolved a lot of those issues as well. I hate talking bad about prototype stuff, but I also don't want to like hide things. Working a product from a prototype phase to a production phase is a hard thing. TBS has navigated that many times. I am extremely confident that the final production unit that they are currently shipping is awesome. So, glad to hear that, Mattia. I hope that's how you say your name. Try to get Steel to watch The Boys. I just finished the new season. It is awesome. Any idea the maximum number of PWM channels? Yes, it can be operated in either 8 or 12 channel modes. So you're able to get 8 or 12 channel output. I'm assuming that's what you're asking when you say PWM channels. If you mean how many pins does the receiver have for outputting PWM, I think that is going to be, let's see, 4. There's no way it's more than 6. If you look at the layout of the board itself, there are 6 pins. I know it's probably not focusing. There's the 4 on the end and 4 on the side. So 2 of those are for power, 2 of them for channels, 4 of the other ones for channels. You know what though? I think that there is also I think they also have a different receiver that is a PWM specific receiver. Let me pull this up real quick. I saw it earlier. It's not something that I would necessarily be using, so I haven't spent a whole lot of time looking at it. No. Yeah, they have a specific PWM receiver. If you are, say, like a plane guy, you're wanting to get this for building RC planes. So it's a 6-channel PWM receiver. But, I mean, you already have the ability to do 6 channels on that Nano receiver. I don't know why. Yeah. It is what it is. What else we got in the comments? What up, Stingy? What up, Starkey? Penetration, penetration, penetration. That's why you need that Peter. Big old Peter the Penetrator. Yep. Crossfire drops quick to that 50 hertz in the bandos. Gotta agree. Yeah. 5G stuff. Yeah. I'm definitely not going to be talking politics. I don't, you won't ever see me posting about politics. I keep my public stuff for FPV. That's what I do. I'm just looking to see if there's any other relevant questions. What advantage does Tracer have over Crossfire? Lower latency, high refresh rate all the time. I would say it feels much better. If I continue to get good range everywhere I go with the Tracer system, I will probably be swapping out all of my quads to Tracer and only throwing Crossfire on it if I'm going to the mountains or something. That's kind of where things are headed for me. Yeah, I like it a lot. Yeah, I mean, I cheerlead a little bit, but I also tell it how it is, and I use what works. I don't just use a bunch of crap that doesn't work. Yeah, I think we're running out of questions. Phantom, dude, you said you had like 40 questions for me. Where are they at? uh, let's see. Yep. I think that's going to wrap it up, guys. Cool. All right. Well, I apologize that I was never able to get that video to work, but just know that I have a new edit. Like, what I had for you was just the raw usable footage, like 15 minutes worth of footage that I'm probably going to cut down into like a 3 or 4 minute little video. So keep your eyes out for that. I'm going to be posting that hopefully. Oh, geez. I'm not going to get to finish editing it tonight. I'll probably try to edit that this weekend and get that posted this weekend. So keep an eye out for that. The next video that drops from me is going to be using the TBS Tracer system. And maybe next time I go fly with Steele and the guys, we will go live and talk about it in the field, what we're feeling, show you the stick cam, show you all the things. Anyways, all right. I hope you enjoyed it, and I appreciate everything. Thank you guys for the super chats. Thank you guys for coming in here. Go get yourself a tracer. I think it's pretty sweet, and I'm going to be using the crap out of it. All right. See you out there and flying. Bye.